Hey everyone, welcome back to Stamping School. I had a question from Ellen who said, I don't understand all the different kits. Some I like, but I need a subscription for. Some are in the store. Some have refills. Some don't. I don't get it. What's the difference? So I get it. It is confusing. And now they're just about the same price for a lot of the kits. So paper pumpkins come in your mail automatically. You can subscribe for the month, or 3 months, or 6 months, or a year, and they are a surprise. So typically, what you need to do is subscribe by the 10th of the following month. You have to opt in. A lot of times we have hints of what they look like, but we don't always know. So a lot of people don't like the surprise. Some like the surprise. So they come in a box like this, and it is subscription based, and they will often have refills after these come out to supplement the kit. And they typically, they have a stamp set and an ink spot and directions and all the parts and pieces. The kits, you don't need a subscription for. They come in a box like this. You don't have to subscribe. They're there all the time. They do at least 2 extra, I think every month or so. And sometimes they have stamp sets in them and sometimes they don't. So I'll show you this one today and a bunch of alternates for it. This one's very pretty. It's called Serene Scenes. So they come in the box, shrink wrapped. There is a stamp set, and then there's this little guide in the different languages, depending on which one you bought for the stamp set. They typically have like a small block and little glue dots, an ink spot. This one has dimensionals. It has all your directions and things like that in it. And then all of the parts and pieces, cards and envelopes that are ready to go. So the kits are a nice way if you just want to try it, but you don't want to subscribe and you like to know what you're getting instead of the surprise, then the regular kits are what you want to look for. If it says paper pumpkin in the front of it, then those are the subscription ones. So, all right, I'm going to get into this kit and I'll show you some really fun alternates. First thing I do when I have a kit is I make them exactly as the artist intended, just because I want to see what they were thinking. I want to see how they look, and then I can decide what I want to change. So this is one of them. It is Father's Day, which I do have somebody I can send that to. And this one with the square, and they're dimensional, they're nice, and this one, it's very pretty. So you can see there's these little trees that they give you to layer in there, and the stamping here. So they're very nice cards. And then I'll show you how we're going to step them up a little. They also have like this, it feels like almost like watercolor paper, but it has a slight sheen on it. And the envelopes are beautiful also. They're sort of like a cloud cover, maybe a little bit of a balmy blue in there. Kind of that mottled pretty, and it's that same, it's not textured as, it is a little textured, but it's very pretty. And if you stamp on it, like I stamped the little tree that comes in the stamp set, I stamped it, just wait a few seconds before you touch it, because it will, it takes a minute to dry, because this has like a little texture gloss to it, so just give it a minute to dry. The stamp set, I always stamp everything right away. I put the whole thing, I put the whole stamp set on my Stamparatus or on my stamp thingy, and I don't even unmount it. I tape it down on there and I stamp the whole thing just to make sure everything looks okay. There's no errors or one of the stamps isn't messed up. It's perfect. I keep it in one of these little envelopes. They give you this little thing, stamp registration, and then I just keep everything in a little cello envelope, and that's how I store these guys. So I'm going to alter this one, and we're going to make it into this one. So although that's very pretty, I just wanted it to be a little bit bolder, and because this is a landscape, go back into all of your old stamps and dies, your pine trees, Christmas trees, any kind of trees, anything here. You can add a deer, wildlife, a bear. These are so great, these cards, because you can just make them into whatever. So the first thing I did on this one, it comes like this for the whole card. We're going to cut this off because we can use this for something else. So we're going to cut this off at 4 1/4. Now this becomes something we can use for the inside of the cards. We can cut them up and use them as sentiments, all sorts of things. So I brought over my arch dies, and for this one, I really like the stitching inside. You wouldn't have to. You could cut this down to 4 by 5 1/4 and do the little bit of stamping on here, which we'll do, and then just use your dies to cut the arch out like that and add it. It just makes such a difference just by adding this. This is in the Secret C. But there's this little background stamp, and they used gray granite, so that's what I'm going to use. They give you that little gray granite ink cube, but I'm using my big pad just to save time. And a little off this way, and I did a little off this way down here. And this panel is cut down to 4 by 5 1/4. And then we can just pop this up on top. I like putting the dimensionals on it because I feel like it adds a little bit more. Use your little strip dimensionals to pop that up. And then the sentiment goes across here on dimensionals. And I did this tree from Mountain Air, and I really like how it just takes up, makes it so different, makes it pop. If you use the little guys that come in here, there's little trees and shrubs, and you can definitely add those along here. But I just like how bold that is. I know that's not current, but just get a tree that you have and play with some different things. And then if you want to add birds, you can, if you have a bird die or a bird stamp, that's great. And if you don't, just make a little bird with a marker. Just draw one in there because they're pretty easy to do, and then scatter some sequins. And I think that is a nice step up from this one. Like I said, nothing wrong with this one, but I just like how that really pops. Think of these card kits just sort of as a black pair of pants, and then you can accessorize and put different colors with it and all the things, because it's so fun to just take the bones of it and then step them up a little. All right, let me show you a different one. Here's the rectangle version, and that's what they did. There's a little more stamping here, the little sentiment there, a tree popped up, and that. And this is what I ended up doing with a little bit of pecan pie, and I used the wood grain Wonders. I did a Misty Moonlight card base, and then I took the 4 by 5 1/4. All the measurements are for you in the PDF below, so make sure you print that out if you want. And I just scored every 3/4 of an inch, and then also a little skinny one next to it to just make it look more like paneling. Now you could emboss the paper behind here. Add any kind of designer paper. Go and see what you have. Look at this one. This is from the water side. Look how cool that is. Look how well that goes. You can try different designer papers, but we're just gonna do like this here. Gonna add that pecan pie. And then this is the card, which we're going to cut this out. And then all of these they give you, and including the frame on the inside, these are going to be great for sentiments that you can use for something else. Now I can come in here and I can cut this out with a die right here, or if I'm not going to be using all of this, I can just cut it out and then use those for sentiments. So we can just do maybe a 3/4 inch for sentiments. Let me cut this off too. We're gonna save this piece for something else. Look at all these opportunities for sentiments. We can do 1/2 inch ones, 3/4 inch ones. I'll do a couple big ones here, and I'll do a few 1/2 inch. So we're gonna use just this piece right here, so we can get a couple 1/2 inch. And then you can have those ready for other things. I'm just gonna cut this all the way around. We're only gonna use this middle piece anyway. So for this one, I'm just gonna glue this right in the center, like that. And then the frame that goes over top of it, we're just gonna add the dimensional strips. So we'll just add these all around the frame to pop it up a little bit, just to give it a little bit more interest. And that just goes on top of it. It's just pretty. I just love it. And then squiggle some of this underneath, and you can tie some linen thread on here. So here's my card. I did add a little bird, and I added a fern from the Fern and Flora dies, just because I like the greenery on here. A sentiment right here. I think that one is from, yeah, Sending Salutations. I truly appreciate all you do. And just a couple little sequins on there. I think it just came out nice. So here's the before, which is very nice, and then here's the after. Just sort of pops with that pecan pie. All right, one more. Here's the original one, the little square. Now for this one, I decided to do like a little fun fold. So here's a little ribbon. This can open. You've got one side has a open circle and the other one has this circle. And then on the inside, I'm gonna do something. But let me show you how to do this part first. I did basic beige as my card base. And what you wanna do, 5.5 by 8.5, and you wanna put it in your scoring thing, and you wanna do 2 1/8, turn it over and do 2 1/8. And that will give you the perfect gatefold card, like that. Then, there's so many designer papers that this kit works with. Look at this one from ages ago. I think it was the Autumn Splendor. Any of these landscapes would be so beautiful with this kit. And the gallery papers, those would be really pretty. They all have a lot of the same colors in them. The one I chose on this one is the Nature Walk paper, which is so pretty. Has all those same colors, the mossy meadows, the olives, the greens. So I have 2 panels that are 2 inches by 5.5. So I only want a little bit of that paper showing. We're gonna glue those down right here on these 2 panels, right in the center, and there will be a teeny little bit, because we scored these at 2 1/8. You can see there's just a teeny little relief on each edge. The gatefold is so pretty anyway, and it's easy to do. Same size paper. Now, 2 circles on this piece here. This is one of the cards, and I taped them down and ran them through. These are 2 of my nesting circles here. I think this is from, oh, I can't remember the name. I'll put it down below. They're still current. But that created the rings that we needed, like that. And now you just have to decide which way you want it to open. I ended up doing it this way so it opens like that. Okay, so we're going to start with this inner circle. I think you could start with either one, I suppose, but I feel like it's almost easier to start with this one here. And I'm going to use really good adhesive here. You can pop it up if you want to and make it stand up a little. You just want to make sure that it does not go into the other side. So we really only want one side. I'm going to use this right here. Just want one side to stick down. We'll do that, make sure it's straight here. Okay, this side right here. So you only have your dimensionals on the one side. Put it right in the middle. There. And just make sure nothing is sticking out over here. Okay, and then this one needs to line up. This is the trickier one. This needs to line up right here, right there. And the best way to do that is just a little bit of glue only on the one side. Now, if you want to do glue dots or something, you can, but just use a teeny little bit of glue only on the half side. And if you want to make sure it's not too goopy, one of my team members showed me this years ago. Deb, if you're watching, I still do this because of you. If you're worried you got a little too much glue, you just tap it off a bit first. Get off any extra, and then it's not going to be too goopy. That really does work. All right, this goes right here. Remember, we're only gluing down this side. And we're not putting it up on dimensionals, which makes it easier, actually. There we go. Only on that side. And now make sure it's dry before you start messing with it. And then we'll put our ribbon on this side over here. Now, you could make this a different color. You could make it a layer. It doesn't have to interlock, you know, if you don't want it to. You could, whatever. I just think it's kind of neat. You know, if you want to make it a little bit sturdier, you cut a second one to put underneath it, but it seems to be okay, right? And then you're going to tie a little piece of ribbon on this side. I did basic beige to kind of match my cardstock, and then we'll do the inside. One tip for doing the ribbon, because this paper is a little delicate, you want to put the loop through first and then come around and pull the legs, but don't pull these too hard with pulling both of these. You want to just do one at a time. Be careful. One at a time. If you pull both, you could rip your paper. So just pull one at a time, and you could slide a little glue dot in there just to make sure that that's not gonna go anywhere. Okay, let me show you just what I did here, and then I'll show you the inside. So I added one of their little trees right here, popped it up. I did one of these pearls to kind of represent like a little moon, and then my hello banner, which I just trimmed from a little 1/4-inch piece of white paper. I found that the white willow matched this paper better. Whatever is in this kit here, this color, the willow is better than the basic white, but I'm sure they'll both look fine. Okay, on the inside, I thought it might be kind of fun to do a big circle like this, so I have room to write a little something, and I wanted it to look like the front with this green. And I might paint the top, I don't know yet, but I stamped 3 of those trees from the kit here. And then I grabbed my Granny Apple Green, and let's see if we can do it. Let's see if we can match that. I don't know, I'm gonna try. I've got light and dark Granny Green, and I think that's really close to, well, it's pretty close. Olive, I'm gonna start with this Granny Apple Green, and because I can add to it and make it look a little darker with another color, I'm gonna start here. Okay, stop. So I always think I want to just, you know, keep going, but we're gonna stop and we're just gonna do, whoop, that is Granny Apple Green. All right, I'm going to the olive. Oh, that's a little better. I'm just gonna add this in here and see how it goes. All right, I ended up adding a little bit of the light mossy meadow in the trees, and then I dotted the dark mossy meadow, and I probably should have left it all alone, but it's not too bad. I'm gonna go with it. And by the time I write my little note, I think it'll be okay. And that's what I ended up doing for the inside, but I might do a little wash because it seems that's a lot of white, but maybe by the time I write my note, it'll be okay. Maybe. But I really like the front of it, and I'm gonna go with it. So here are my stepped up versions. I'll put recipes down below for you for all of these. I hope you give them a try. Even if you don't have the kit, use the layouts with something that you already have. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. See it, learn it, stamp it.